While we're finding our seats, could everybody please stand up? We're going to do a little exercise, all right? Everybody stand, please. Take a deep breath, do a little stretch. Okay, now you can sit back down. All right, that was our exercise. Yeah, just want to make sure your blood was flowing. You can have a seat.
It'd be nap time.
That was recess, yeah.
All right, now you do have to sit back down though, because we do have to start. So, my name's Robert Kramer. I'm a bridge builder. I'm the, hopefully, both figuratively and literally, our company builds bridges. We built the White Arch pedestrian bridge out here in the Grand Nose. But we also, hopefully figuratively, by bringing people together. And I'm really honored to be able to bring these folks together. And I'm the most recently appointed to the Board of Regents. The Board of Regents oversees the 3 universities and the University of Iowa Hospital. I call it the school board on steroids. And but when you think about these 3, they are overseeing a budget of over $7 billion. And so it's a big deal. And these guys do a great job, and everything I've learned so far has been really good about these 3. So I'm honored to be here with them. Instead of reading a bio, I'm going to have you introduce yourself. So we'll start with President Wintersteen. If you could just tell a little bit about yourself, about how you came to Iowa State and how long you've been there.
Certainly. Wendy Wintersteen. I'm in my 6th year as president of Iowa State University. I've been at Iowa State for a little more than 44 years. I started working at Iowa State in the field with ISU Extension as an Integrated Pest Management Extension Associate. So I'm living proof that you can work your way up through the ranks from a staff member to president of the university. And it's been my honor to serve the university in a multitude of roles. Most recently, before president, I served as dean of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences for 11 years. The secretary has probably left the room, but I would say being the dean of agriculture is probably the best job at Iowa State.
President Wilson.
Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here, and especially to be with my 2 colleagues in the Regent Universities, and thank you especially to our newest regent. Robert's been great, and we're really thrilled to have you on the board. I'm at the University of Iowa. I'm the president. This is my 3rd year. I tell students I'm in my junior year, but I'm not being graded. It's pass-fail only. And I came here from the University of Illinois, where I was on the faculty and worked through various leadership roles for 21 years. So I crossed the river and came to the right side of the river, is what I tell people here. I don't say that when I head back to Illinois for visits. But it's been great. I'm thrilled to be in this position, honored to be here. My main connection to Iowa is that my mother was born in Winterset, Iowa, so I feel in many ways like my roots are here, even though I'm only a resident for the past 2.5 years. So it's been great, and my background is communication. I don't do research anymore, but in my past life, I studied the impact of media on children. So I think a lot about the social media worlds that our young people are growing up in. So more on that later if it comes up.
I'm Mark Nook, and I'm in my 7th year as the president of the University of Northern Iowa. I'm an Iowa native, born up in Esterville, and grew up in the small farming community of Holstein in northwest Iowa, right on Highway 20 and 59. My father was a hog buyer when I was really young, and then in agribusiness, selling feed and fertilizer, local elevator, Simonson's Feed and Seed way back when. So really do have these Iowa roots. Got a master's degree from Iowa State. I'm an astronomer by training, and still trying to figure out how an astronomer becomes a university president. But yeah, as everybody says, it's the problem-solving skills that a president really needs, and those are easily developed in the sciences, any of the sciences, and so it really was a good training background. But it's just a pleasure to be here with Wendy and Barb and Robert and talk about what the universities are doing to help with the hunger problems that we have in our own state, across this country and around the world. So thank you.
Great. In fact, we'll start with you, President Nook, on telling a little bit about UNI, maybe for folks who don't know, what kind of, how big is it, how does it differ from the other universities, and then a little bit of the demographics.
Yeah, so the University of Northern Iowa this year is a little over 9,000 students. And we're known as Iowa's Teachers College. We started out as a normal school and then a teaching university, really preparing teachers for the rural schools in Iowa, and then became a university. Strong programs in business, strong programs in science and the arts. So that's kind of where we're at. We've got a really strong program in business and community services, outreach to all 99 counties. That's really unique for a regional comprehensive like the University of Northern Iowa. Our primary focus is on the undergraduate students, limited master's programs, very few doctoral programs. Our student body is 90% comes from the state of Iowa. 85% of our students take their first job in the state of Iowa. We really are focused on, I say, educating Iowans for Iowa as a regional comprehensive. But as the only regional comprehensive in the state, we do serve the entire state. We reach out and we have students from all 99 counties at our university. And as I said, we have these outreach programs through business and community services and through the College of Education in preparing teachers completely across the state. We do more than 3,500 outreach programs in communities and counties every single year at the University of Northern Iowa. Our student body population is heavily undergraduate. About 30% of our students are we call Pell eligible, which means they're coming from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. And then we have a large population of students that I talk about as being near Pell eligible. And those are the students that have the most financial trouble on many campuses, those that are really close to just being eligible for Pell benefits, but not having those available to them. About 15% of our population comes from a minority or an underserved background. So it kind of encapsulates the university.
Yeah, thanks. And I like the fact that your construction management program is growing. So we're hiring some of your kids from there.
Yeah.
So, President Wilson, tell us about Iowa.
Happy to. So the University of Iowa has roughly 30,000 students, so a little bit bigger than Northern, and about 22,000 of those students are undergraduates and about 8,000 are graduate and professional students. We also have about 1,400 medical residents and postdocs that we don't count in the 30,000 number. So we've got a lot of students. We're really excited that enrollments are modestly growing. We are a comprehensive research university. We have all fields represented. And among the professional and graduate programs, we have many health-related colleges. So obviously the College of Medicine, but the College of Pharmacy, the College of Dentistry, the College of Nursing, public health. So we really have a very fulsome public health and commercial and private health enterprise, but we also have performing arts and the Writers' Workshop, and we brand ourselves as the Writing University because we have so many people interested in storytelling and creative writing. The thing I'm probably the most proud of is that 1 in 5 of our undergraduates is first in family to go to college. So think about that, 1 in 5. And I think my colleagues have similar statistics. We are literally changing the lives of families when students come to us from all kinds of backgrounds and all places across the state of Iowa. We have 95 counties represented in the first year class this year, coming from all kinds of backgrounds and literally the first in their family to go to college. And that represents particular challenges and interests and needs, but it's a really important aspect of being a big public university.
That's great. So at Iowa State, we'd be a little over 30,000 students. 25,000 of our students are undergraduates, with the rest being graduate students or students in our College of Veterinary Medicine. When we think about Iowa State University, we think about STEM. We think about STEM degrees. 60% of our students would be in a STEM degree. So we think about STEM in terms of engineering, agriculture, the life sciences. We think about the connection to business and manufacturing in this state. So that really is the sweet spot at Iowa State. Of course, we're a comprehensive university, and so our students are all engaged and involved. Innovated Iowa State has been the brand that we've been lifting up over the last 5 years, and most recently we were awarded Entrepreneurial University of the Year for the Americas, a big deal. Our staff went to Barcelona, Spain to accept the award, so we are very proud of them. It connects to the new Student Innovation Center at Iowa State that was opened up during COVID, a terrible time to open up anything. So innovation, entrepreneurship, using creativity is really one of the focus areas at Iowa State. I think first gen is an important characteristic that we all share. Also, this issue of how poor are our students is an important detail to share. Mark talked about it a little bit. We would have 19% of those students at Iowa State. So you think of 19% of the 30,000 plus students at Iowa State that are Pell eligible. So we have very poor students at Iowa State. And that really is an important thing to recognize and to understand. We all do a lot to raise scholarships, private support for our students to help them come to college, because we know that college is truly life-changing. It gives students the opportunities to move up. It's social mobility. They have a different chance for a new opportunity that others in their family have not had. And that's something that's very special and is proven over and over again. And it's something that makes a difference for Iowa. We track that, and Mark would have a very high percentage at UNI. At Iowa State, it would be in the mid-60s of students, whether they're Iowa residents or non-residents, staying in Iowa after they graduate. So we're very interested, all of us, in the workforce for Iowa and meeting workforce needs in Iowa, and something we should all be doing more of.
Good information. I'm sneaking this question in. Iowa State is a land-grant university. What does that mean, and how does that affect you on daily life? Yeah.
See how our Board of Regents members help us. I would have been heavily criticized if I had failed to mention that, Robert, so thank you. So land-grant university, there's a network of us, at least one in every state. We have one in Iowa, established in the middle of the Civil War by Abraham Lincoln, by grants of land. The land was sold, Iowa State University was established. Our missions are research, teaching, and extension. Extension is what makes us different. In every county, there is an Iowa State University Extension Office, funding from the federal government, from the state, and from the county, with an elected council. And through that council, those 9 members are very involved in determining the local programming. And relative to our conversation today, that local programming is often very much tied to food pantry work, to gardening that helps deliver food. So there is very much a focus on hunger when you think about a county extension council priorities. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, no, good information. Before we get into these questions that they know are coming, I'm going to sneak one more in. That's President Wilson. How do we know that there is hunger? How do we know on campus what the needs are?
Well, we know because we hear it from students, and we see in a regular way, as we think about well-being, students suffering from hunger. A student who's hungry may miss class, may decide to opt out of a social activity, may not go to a study session, may decide he or she doesn't have capacity to join a leadership group. And we track our students, particularly during the first year, and we check what they do. And they know that we do this, so this isn't something we're doing in a serendipitous way. But we really look at who's visiting which places on campus, who's visiting the mental health services that we provide, who's visiting various counseling services, and we know we can predict with a pretty good reliability which of our students are at risk for hunger. But they also tell us, and what we are increasingly trying to do is make food security and insecurity a topic that we talk about on a regular basis. It's not something to be ashamed of. You can't survive and thrive if you're not taking care of your physical self and your mental well-being. And so we talk about that all the time. It's in our strategic plan. If you walked on campus, somebody would talk to you about basic needs before you got very far. So
All right, good. That's a good segue into our question, which is how do you bring attention to hunger security? So President Nook, what do you do at UNI?
Yeah, so I see Connie Hansen sitting here, and I know later you're going to hear a little bit about our food pantry on campus. And one of the ways is to just make sure students know about the resources that are available on campus at orientation sessions and during Welcome Week. But our food pantry is one that's open to any student. We had about 550 students last year take advantage of that. Think about that a little bit. 550 students on a campus that found the food pantry and used it. My guess is that 2 to 3 times that many students could actually take advantage of it and either are too proud to do that, feel like they shouldn't do that, but it's available. And 32,000 pounds of food went through that facility last year, and that's just the one facility. But we also then have faculty members that keep stock. So we have a faculty member this year in communication science that just took an old closet and started stocking it with food products. And then when a student stops by, they're just invited to help themselves, right? And we've got all kinds of donations coming in for those sorts of things. The hunger problems at universities show themselves. All you have to do is just open the door a little bit, and the students will step in and let you know that, boy, we've got an issue with hunger. I'm not getting the meals. I'm not getting the nutrition I need. And so making sure that people know about the resources that we provide and then the resources that are available in the community through food pantries and food banks.
Okay. President Wintersteen?
Well, certainly. I think at Iowa State University, we're very proud that it's a student organization that really lifted up the issue of hunger at Iowa State and said that we should have what's called SHOP, and that's the food pantry at Iowa State University. And so SHOP has been present for a number of years and really been something that has been student run. And they ask for volunteers, though, from the entire community. And so you'd be surprised if you came on campus to see the number of faculty and staff that join our students in staffing SHOP and helping them make sure that it's open and available for students to come in. I was told that over the last year, the amount of food product that has been distributed increased 150% due to high demand. So 15,000 individual visits last year by students coming in to access the product. The demand is so high that our student wellness unit decided to allocate funds for a full-time staff member to work on coordination. So joining hands with our students who led the way, but joining hands with them to better organize and facilitate and do what is necessary to support our students. So back to President Wilson's comment. Students cannot study. Students cannot be successful. They cannot graduate if they don't have food, and that's just a basic premise. It's whether it's a student, somebody living in our community, hunger changes your ability to be successful.
All right. You know, one of the things I think because we have so many Iowans at our universities, I think we kind of picture our kids and maybe having a food plan and so it's just inconceivable that they would go hungry. But President Wilson, tell a little bit about maybe some of the other students that struggle, and also, even if you're on a food plan, why would it still be an issue?
Yeah, thank you. So I just want to give a shout out to our food pantry, and Steph Beecher here, where's Steph? I know she's in the audience, is our basic needs coordinator. I'm guessing that when many of you were in college, there was no such person as a basic needs coordinator, but these days it's really important to have somebody who's really focused on what we call basic needs, and that includes food. We have several of our students here who are also volunteers in our food pantry. So, you know, the thing about the food pantry that I was surprised about, first of all, we just moved our food pantry into the IMU and opened up a brand new facility so that it is right there. I don't know why it's near our ice cream shop. We have to work on that a little bit. But anyway, you walk in and there's the food pantry, and it's on our visitor tour now for all new students and families. They walk right by the food pantry because we really want to normalize the idea that if you're hungry, if you need food, here it is. And we have student volunteers who work in it. It was started like at ISU by a student org. The other thing that I'm really proud of is that our student government just voted to give $60,000 a year to the food pantry. I mean, that's amazing. So if you think about the future citizens of this state, our students are deeply involved in food insecurity and care a lot and want to make a difference, which is really important. Here's the thing that surprised me the most. So we had over 5,000 visitors last year to the food pantry, and that was when it was hidden. So I think it's going to just be more active this year. But who is the main user right now? Graduate and professional students are using it more than undergraduates. So that kind of surprised me. I figured it would be mostly undergraduates. It may be that we'll get an increase in undergraduate use now that it's in a more visible place, but I think sometimes we forget about our graduate and professional students, some of whom have families, many of them are international students. They're coming to us from other countries. They're struggling with all the costs of being in a country far away from home. And so that's a pocket of our student body that I think we need to pay particular attention to. We also have some staff visiting our food pantry. So our food pantry is open to faculty and staff as well. So to think about it as only an undergraduate site, I think is a mistake, and it's one that we're really careful about. You mentioned meal tickets, and the other program I just want to let you all know about that I'm really pleased about is our Hawkeye Meal Share program. Students who are on a meal plan can donate guest meal visits to anybody. But they weren't doing it as much as we might have expected because they didn't maybe know that they could donate it. So now at the end of every semester, Housing and Dining swipes all those guest passes that aren't used and puts them into a bucket for people who need extra food. So that's another program that's really growing on campus. The idea that you could get a meal ticket, and they're mostly used by people living off campus. Who are on campus and don't have the resources, need to get some energy to go to class, continue to do what they do, and they stop in at a dining hall with a meal swipe. So we're doing a lot of different kinds of programs, but what I'm really proud of is the student energy behind all of these.
And good. Want to add to that, President Nook?
No, that's exactly right. The student orgs behind this and the way that other students recognize the problem. One of the things that's always impressed me about the University of Northern Iowa in particular is the way students commit to helping other students reach their goals, whether it's in the classroom or something of this sort. And we see it on all three of our campuses that everybody recognizes, oh, there's an issue here, let's get behind it. So it's really a pleasure to work in a state where students are that compassionate for their colleagues and their fellow students and the staff members.
Go ahead, President Wintersteen.
Could we ask our students and staff members from the three universities to stand and be recognized? I know they're going to be in
All right.
breakout session, but
Please
could
do.
we that?
And President Wintersteen, is there also kind of a timing problem if folks have kind of a dining plan, but maybe the timing just doesn't work right?
Right. Plans expire is the issue. And so at Iowa State, just like the other universities, there is a very strong connection with our dining services to be working with our shop program and to be working with our student wellness program to think about how do we enhance and do something more clever so that those expiring meals can in fact be used instead of just be lost. Mm-hmm. So that is another area of interest and potential expansion.
So you've all three talked about kind of the food pantry concept in different ways. What other initiatives have you seen or done for both food security and for nutrition?
I think it's important to think about some of the other work we do in general. And at Iowa State University, Extension plays such a big role in cooperating with human health services that we've heard from in the first panel. But I think about expanded food nutrition programs, the expanded food nutrition programs related to education, to SNAP Ed. There's a certain website about eating smart. And when I looked up the data on that, there's something like 190,000 visitors to look at the website on planning meals, shopping smart, and our students actually access these programs. And so I think thinking about it in terms of how Extension reaches out not only to communities across Iowa with nutrition information, but also through websites. So I think that's a resource that we need to remember, and the connection to our state agency as well. One of the best stories for me this summer was being at the State Fair in the 4-H building, and our 4-Hers work on projects to plan a meal under the guidelines from the federal government to qualify for some of the benefits, and they have to plan a meal for a family of 4 for $11. And I would think about all of us in this room anyway, thinking what would be the meal that you would plan for $11 to feed 4 people that would be nutritious. My husband does most of the cooking in our house, and I went home and told him about the posters I viewed, and he said, well, we would be having peanut butter and jelly. And I said, well, while that may be nutritious, I wouldn't be very interested. But when you see these 4-Hers and their posters and the education they've received on what could actually be a nutritious meal for 4 for $11, it was really a fantastic display. So I think nutrition education at the earliest level and some of the great work that's being done in this area, and really incredible information that is up and available on these websites, is something that everyone should be thinking about as a resource, and certainly is available out there.
Yeah. President Wilson, what would you add for any other initiatives or things that you've seen on campus?
Yeah, I agree with Wendy completely about the education element. We're doing a lot of that as well. I think I want to focus for a minute on the research that's going on at the University of Iowa related to hunger and nutrition. And I could go on and on. In fact, I just brought this up to show you. One of my staffers collected all of this information about what's going on at the university around food insecurity and hunger. It's stunning. But I'll just give you a couple of examples. We have a faculty member in the Tippie College of Business who's been looking at the impact of having one healthy meal in a school on K through 12 nutritional choices across the day. And there's a clear association between having one healthy meal and choosing healthier foods later in the day in a more free realm outside of school. So that's a great example of how important some of the meal programs are in K through 12. We have another faculty member, an orthopedic surgeon, who's been doing working on hip fractures, and particularly in elderly individuals, and has found that over half of the patients that he sees have malnutrition associated with hip fractures. So, keeping people healthy as they age, which is certainly an issue in the state of Iowa, and figuring out nutritional support, particularly in rural communities, is going to help a lot of people stay healthy longer. So those are just 2 examples of the kind of research that faculty are doing across different colleges and across different avenues of work. We have another faculty member who's tracking nationally. If you give a student a debit card and allow them to go into a college student, allow them to go in and swipe for a meal, you can predict higher graduation rates just from that randomized single intervention. So I think we've got a lot of work that we're doing. We've got to expand it and make sure people know about it and connect with state agencies. I was really happy to hear Director Garcia and Secretary Nag talk about the partnerships that need to happen across all of us, because we're all doing this great work, but how do we now make sure that our networks are strong and that the work gets out into the communities in terms of education and research.
Yeah, good. President Nook?
Yeah, one of the things that happens at UNI that I'm really pleased with is we've got this big community engagement center, and it's an opportunity for our students, our faculty and staff to engage in our community, and it's very orchestrated and organized. So if a faculty member wants to add a community engagement piece to a course, there's a center that helps them do that and connect with people in our community. One of the big programs that came out of that was really started as part of our Northern Iowa student government. We call it now Backpack the Dome, but it started out originally just helping the local food bank put together backpacks for kids that were food insecure in the local community. This last year, that Backpack the Dome had over 2,500 volunteers, both our students but also people in the community coming together, packing 79,000 backpacks in a single day inside the Unidome. That was enough backpacks to meet the entire need in that the Northeast Iowa Food Bank has from January through the end of last year, right? One of the things that's really important about that sort of work isn't just being able to feed these kids. It's about raising awareness to the issues and helping our students understand what is going on out there and how to engage in the work of helping break down some of the societal barriers that are out there, whether it's food or housing or the others. It's just one example of ways that people can get involved. One of the projects that came through this and working with people in one of our departments was to work with the People's Clinic, which is an open clinic in Waterloo, to start garden plots so that people in the area would have access to fresh vegetables, especially at the end of the summer into the early fall, and then creating a veggie voucher program so that people at the People's Clinic, other clinics around the city, could hand vouchers to people that were food insecure, and they could go to local farmers markets, hand these to food vendors at the farmers market and get vegetables for them, and work out ways to then get people access to especially the fresh fruits, vegetables that are so much a part of our summers and are really high quality, nutritious foods. So getting our students engaged in understanding what's going on, the depth of the problem, and then learning ways that they can be part of the solution and become part of this network that does involve state government, federal government, local government, city and county government, universities, other city organizations, not-for-profit organizations like food banks. Help them see that web and how we need to work to coordinate that, and not all of us, as Secretary Nag said, here's one question, let's solve that, when really there are 17, 18, 19 questions, and you need to take an across-the-board approach and not just try to solve one of them, but have a coordinated way to do this. So really important educational opportunity through this community engagement.
Let me sneak in another question. So trend-wise, when I was a student at Iowa State, I had a wall about as big as this of Mountain Dew cans. I'm kind of happy to see that younger people actually seem to be drinking more water than we did back in then. But what do you see as trends, both positive and negative? What do you kind of see on campus?
Well, we had a Mountain Dew Christmas tree every year in our residence. That's the way, because we couldn't have a tree, we put one against the wall. But I am seeing more and more students really engage in the work of communities, which is wonderful to see. And a lot of that is around nutrition. I think we've seen a growth in the number of students that are taking out the meal contracts. And I think that's really important because it does help these students have access to food. Yes, you've got to pay for it. You pay for it in advance. But with over a third of our students living in our residence halls, having that meal contract means I don't have to think about where the next meal's coming from. And I know that the food that's available to me is high quality, nutritious food. And so we are seeing students become much, much more aware of the diet that they need to have, of the need for quality food, quality nutrition, and the exercise that goes with it, right? Becoming much more health conscious. The number of students that are using the wellness center on our campus, looking for those opportunities to get out and move their body as well as make sure that it's nutritious, is growing. There's just a greater awareness about that. That's certainly happening on our campus.
Yeah, good.
I would just add to Mark's comment that when we think about wellness of our students, it's something that we spend a lot of time on, because if we can address wellness, then we can really address mental health. And mental health is an issue in all of our communities, just as we think about hunger. But wellness is the first stop. And as we think about wellness for our students, it is about sleep and it is about exercise. And if we can talk to our students about sleep and exercise, we make a tremendous difference in their lives. And so Mark's comments about exercise is really important. And I think sometimes universities, people will kind of laugh at us when they look at our different rec services that are available. But we want students to be exercising every day. We want them to be out playing cricket, flag football, soccer. We want them to be out there playing that at midnight. It's a much better thing than being somewhere else.
So that's why you put my classes way over in town, and that's right, a mile over here. So okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
So sleep, exercise, those are the trends that we want to build up. Those are good things, and they are something we should all have in our lives as we continue to grow and grow older, right? And so develop those habits now and give up on your Mountain Dew and think about good practices of sleep and exercise and diet, and you have a healthy life.
Yeah, good. Anything to add to that, President Wintersteen?
Yeah, the only thing, I absolutely agree with my colleagues, and I would underscore the fact that we're talking about sleep a lot with our students, because that is one of the challenges in their very busy, overcommitted lives and multiple majors and clubs and work. And 1 in 10 of our students has both an on-campus and an off-campus job. Mm-hmm. So just imagine trying to navigate that and then also get the amount of sleep and nutrition and exercise that you need. So one of the things that I'm concerned about is the amount of energy drinks that our students are consuming. And that's a national issue. It's not just in Iowa, but it is part of that. Okay, maybe they've given up the Mountain Dew, but now they've got these energy drinks that they think they can live on for X number of hours and stay awake. And of course, that's not a solution either. So really helping with education around nutrition is critical for us. And the number of students who are coming to us with food allergies and food issues makes even feeding in the dining halls. I mean, in the old days, now I'm really showing my age, you get a tray and you slop on there whatever's available.
Slop?
And it was slop a lot of times. I'm just going to be honest. I usually went to the salad bar because it was the only thing that, but today you've got stations and gluten-free and this and that, which is great. It means our students are more sensitive to their nutritional issues, but it makes it more complicated to make sure they're healthy and to not do the energy drinks.
Yeah, good. As we're running down on time, tell us, you touched on President Wilson on research. President Wintersteen, what about Iowa State? What kind of research in this area?
So we have a Department of Food Science and Human Nutrition, and their focus on all of these issues would be wide-ranging and comprehensive in terms of their work. But maybe I would answer your question in a different way, and that is the work that we do internationally. Because I think it's important to note that we have donors that realize that a great agricultural college, university like Iowa State really has to be engaged in a world view. And so we have a funded project in one of the poorest areas of the world in the Kamuli district of Uganda that has been there for now almost 20 years, really looking comprehensively at a community's need from a nutrition point of view, from how you have agriculture as an enterprise, as Secretary Naig referenced, how you can have enough of a profit to be able to send your child to primary school. And in 20 years, the nutrition education programs that have been put in place by the people of the community by learning about the need for proper education in the first 1,000 days have changed that community. When we first went over there, the children, the little babies' hair was white from the lack of the proper elements in their diet, and those children would often die. But the programs, again, put in place, children have literally been saved. The community is more prosperous. But that is a privately funded program, so it will be there forever. And that community will have a different future because of the investment of a family that believed in the opportunity to learn, to research what could be done differently, and to implement it. Science through practice. And so I think that's one example of how research and education and teaching comes together in another part of the world and makes a difference.
That's good. You know, when I was in South Africa with Blessman Ministries, it was neat. It was neat on the one hand to see them distributing like 6 million meals from the Heartland a year, which is very cool. But it's even almost better to see that they had Iowa State people there trying to teach the folks how to farm so that they could become self-sufficient and do it on their own. So it's very, very cool. And our last question, maybe if you take a minute each, starting with you, President Nook, on the future, kind of what are your goals, hunger-related goals, projects, initiatives that do you have for the future?
Yeah, let me talk off campus because I think that's really important. A lot of the work that we do in this area is actually applied to communities across this state through business and community services and through the Iowa Waste Reduction Center. The Iowa Waste Reduction Center works with communities, schools, and things to locate and help them understand the amount of food waste that's going on and what they could do to recover some of that and get it, whether it's to food banks, to get it to other places. That might be coming in schools, that might be in our community hospitals, it might be in correction facilities, lots of different places where there's large amounts of foods being prepared and much of it ends up being wasted. And that really is a problem. We've got to find a way to keep that out of those areas. As Director Garcia mentioned, ours is a campus that works well at reaching out and helping people develop garden plots and those sorts of things. We have a huge outreach program, and it kind of goes by a garden on every lot. It used to be when I was a kid, just about every family in my community had a small garden in the backyard, right? My dad was crazy. It was not small. It took all of us to get that garden taken care of. It was well over 1,000 square feet. But it produced really great carrots and radishes and beets and those sorts of things. But so we're trying to work to help other people, help everybody understand, a small garden, what a small garden plot, what a difference that can make if you've got a little bit of land. Where can we put public gardens in? How can we work with communities to do that? So, and that work is going on in all 99 counties, reaching across the state into communities, into school districts, into hospitals, correctional facilities, those sorts of things. So really trying to help the people across the state of Iowa see what they can do to control the food that is being produced there, not waste as little as possible, anyway, waste as little as possible, and then help people realize they can grow their own and kind of get back to their roots, pun intended.
Excellent. You took about 30 of your seconds, but President Wilson.
I would say do more of what we're doing. Make sure the food pantry just thrives. There's actually an Amazon link if any of you want to contribute to our food pantry. I did it the other day. It's fabulous. You don't even have to go there. You just get on the link, click things that they need, and send them there. But I want to also alert you that for the next few days, we are in a Rival Against Hunger food drive competition with Iowa State. So we don't just compete athletically. We find fun ways to compete that actually will help students and families across the state. And that's going from the 5th to the 10th. And our students are competing for how much food they can amass to help others, which I love. I mean, it's a really great common kind of set of goals across the Regent universities. We're going to keep doing research, keep training and educating student leaders, and the more you can help us in that regard, we're going to graduate great people, and they're going to help in the future. The one thing people ask me often is, how do you keep going? And I say, I meet with students because they are the future and they are amazing. And if you get a chance to talk to any of them that you've seen here, you will feel much better about our future knowing the great leaders we're training.
Goals?
The leaders in this room that were introduced earlier have developed the strategies, and I will follow along.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have good news for you. Your universities are in good hands. These three are outstanding university presidents, and I'm just kind of proud to be tagging along. So, could you please tell them thank you for serving today. Thank you.